read your intake sheet and I'll let you introduce yourself, but I think let's just dive in because you wrote a book about what?
Yeah, so I wrote a book. It's called From Choice to Change. And in that, I really shared like my life story of like leaving the Amish culture at 17 and kind of the healing and a lot of the self-development that I did. And then throughout the book, I just like shared things that helped me through that process because I believe like we all have our obstacles that we need to overcome. It's just like what tools do we have that can help us overcome those?
Yes, absolutely. So let's start at the very beginning. Who are you? What do you do?
Ah, so I am Emily Adams. I am a mom. I'm a single mom of two boys. And what do I do? That's a good question. I would say what I do is really go in and help people develop their businesses to scale it, to see where they're leaking revenue. That's one of my strong points. One of the things I really love is business mapping and business strategy. So it's what I'm really passionate about. I also would say the other thing that I do is I do a lot of YouTube just for self-help content. It's my creative outlet. So yeah, I would say that's kind of what I do and who I am. And my hobbies, powerlifting. I powerlifted competitively for 4
Yes.
years. And I also love to read and write clearly because I published a book, and I would say I have about three others started on my laptop. No idea when they'll get published, but it's just some of the hobbies that I enjoy. It's just very relaxing and calming for me.
I love that. So would you say that you're like an idea generator?
Oh, absolutely. Like creative all day long. I know like my type is a manifester. Like I'm human design, I'm a manifester.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
which is interesting because that's really a double-edged sword for those that are so creative because we get all these ideas, these downloads, and then we don't necessarily know which one to stick with and which one to really go after. You can have 30,000 ideas, but if you don't follow through on one of them, it's really frustrating, and we judge ourselves and we really shame ourselves for being that way. So it's just having that discipline of like, okay, that idea can sit there for a little bit. You don't have to work on it today because when it's new and it's exciting, we just want to roll with it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you get that discipline?
Oh, discipline. I would say discipline really started at a young age. Partially because of the way I was raised, everything was so disciplined. And I used to be disciplined in a lot of different ways. But I realized there was some discipline areas in my life that no longer served me versus the ones that I wanted to keep. And one, I would say when I started powerlifting and I, lost a bunch of weight and working out was one of the things that taught me discipline. And the other was going to school full time as a single parent and working full time. I had to have
Wow.
that discipline. If I was going to graduate in 4 years and still keep my job and still be a mom, like there was discipline. I had to have that routine. I had to have that discipline. And I function better on routine. So it's really setting yourself up, and it's like habit stacking, if you will. So, you create one habit of like working out, 4 times a week. Then what's the next thing that goes on that? Maybe it's cleaning up your nutrition, or maybe it's just, hitting a gallon of water a day. So it's kind of like stacking those and just building that. And I'm a believer in tracking things because I love to see check marks. But at the time, I say that because I've also gone extreme with tracking things and then shaming myself for not hitting those metrics. So it's like tracking it with an open hand, if you will, to like, these are my goals. But if one day I have to give myself grace, then we give ourselves grace, right? And I heard a really powerful thing. It was from James Clear, who wrote the book Atomic Habits. And he said, it's all about not breaking the chain. So when you're tracking these and not breaking the chain, and if you do break the chain, break it once, but don't break it twice. Which I was like, that is so true. That's so true.
That was like the one thing that stuck out from me from that book also, because one time you're like, and then you do it twice, and then you're like, well, poor me. But it's like, okay, if you break it once, forget it. Like, it's fine. Just don't do it again. Because, right, because then you start again at the beginning.
Yep. Absolutely.
So when you're, since you kind of like niche this down like with yourself so well, how is that when it became a passion to like then help others with their generation of discipline?
I don't think it ever, for the discipline part, discipline has always been easy. Once I, pick something and I'm focused, I got it. And the accountability, right? I would say when I really started getting passionate about helping people with their business is I saw people coming to me. They were like, oh, I'm getting ready to start this business. Will you help me map it out? Or they were so overwhelmed that they had no idea where to start. They had this big, massive idea. They're like, I have no idea where to start. And I'm like, well, let's just break it down. Like, I'm also project management at heart. So I love to take one goal and just really work back to it, down to what do you have to do every single day in your business to make that first 10K per month, or to, hit 150,000 this year, whatever it is. But breaking it down, because a lot of times we work in a way of, I need to see how it's going to work before I actually take the action steps. Because if I don't know how it's going to work, I'm not going to show up. Some of us
Right.
have that mentality.
Yeah. So when you meet someone and they have an like when is like the first step that they would reach out to you? Like say it was like a new person and they just had this great idea and they were like, "Oh my gosh." Like you said, I don't know where to go. I don't know where to start. Like, is that when you would have them reach out to you?